Hello and welcome to my channel. My name's Abby. If you're new, if you're not new, welcome back. Thank you for joining me. Today I thought I'd do more of like a sit down video and answer some of your guys' questions. I do get a lot of comments and people tend to be curious about the same things, so I thought why not sit down and answer them all for you right now. I asked you guys on my Instagram story, so if you want to be in on the next one, make sure to go follow me over there. Without further ado, let's get into the video. I am going to be reading the questions off my phone because I did not write them down. Okay, we'll start with this one first because I feel like it gives a little background as to where I came from. What did you do for work before van life and what was the transition like? Before van life, I lived like a very typical average life. I went to college in Florida and then I stayed in school and I got my master's and my CPA, and then I went to work at a Big Four public accounting firm. It's like basically as corporate can get. I hated my job so much, and I always say I'm so grateful that I hated my job so much, because if I even liked it just a little bit, I don't think I would have felt the need to make such a drastic change. Like I think I would have been like, oh well, I'm happy enough. But I think because I was already exploring other options in terms of career, I just started to expand that into like, what do I want for my life? And at that point I was following a lot of people that lived in vans on YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and things like that, and it kind of felt like a pipe dream. Like I always used to say like, oh, I wish that I could do that. And then I went on this one trip with my friend and we kind of like planned it out, and it was the first time where it felt like a realistic goal. I was like, oh, I actually could do this. Because when COVID happened, I moved back in with my parents because my job was remote, or mostly remote. I was only going in like 1 to 2 days a week, and they lived like 35 minutes from the office. So I had saved quite a bit of money at that point. And I was like, why don't I put some of this into a van, continue working as I build it out, save even more money, and then hit the road. And at the time I was planning to do public accounting remotely. Like I was like, I'll do some type of accounting job remotely. And I had talked to my boss and I was planning to keep the job that I had. He was going to let me go down to 4 days a week. But like about a month before I left, I was just having a really horrible time. I was working like 60-hour weeks and I was like, I'm not going to enjoy my time on the road. I had posted a little bit on TikTok in college and then a little bit of the van build. And so at the time I had like 100,000 followers. I think I wasn't making money off of it. I wasn't trying to make money off of it. That wasn't like my end goal or anything. But I was watching all of these people do van life and make money off of it by posting it online. And I was like, if I had the time to put into it, I think that I could do that. But if I'm working this job full time, there's no way that I'm going to be able to like pour time into content creation, because although it's not like hard work, like I would never say that it's like a super difficult job, it is a fairly time consuming job. And I just knew if I was working like 50 hours a week doing public accounting, there's no way that I would like take my night and be editing videos. Like I would be so burnt out and exhausted. And my parents were the ones that actually convinced me to quit. My mom had been wanting me to quit for like 6 months because she was like, Abby, you're so depressed. You don't seem like yourself. Like on the weekends when my mom and I were building, she was like, you seem so much happier. And then my dad kind of took a little bit longer to get on board with the whole van life thing in general. But about a month before I was supposed to leave in the van, we were just sitting there and I was talking about how I really think that I could do social media if I had the time to pour into it. And he was like, well, I think that you should go for it. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, what if it doesn't work out? And he looked at me and he said, Abby, what's the worst case scenario? And I said, I guess worst case scenario is I set out in the van, I try to give social media a chance, I never make $1 from it, I go through my savings, and I have to move home and get my old job back. And he said, so the worst case scenario is that you end up in the exact position that you're in right now. And I was like, well, you know, when you put it like that. And so here I am. I ended up quitting my job. I am really lucky that I always knew that I had a home that I could go back to, and not everyone has that, and so there is a lot of privilege in that, and I do recognize that. I'm not good at giving short answers, so I hope you like a long-winded story. I'm like, what was the actual question? I did public accounting before van life, and then the transition, I would say there was definitely some really lonely moments when I first got on the road. I think there's so much community on the road, and I am really lucky that I found it fairly quickly. I stumbled across a Thanksgiving gathering in Joshua Tree like a month into being on the road, met a bunch of people, but at the same time I was like fresh on the road and I was wanting to travel really quickly at the time and like see as much as I could. And a lot of these people have been on the road for years, and you know, they're hanging out in one place for a month and then moving on to the next place, and so I wasn't always with them. And I'm also lucky that I had a lot of people come visit, but I think that it was a lot of questioning and self-doubt and loneliness masked by I'm trying to convince everyone that I'm having a really great time. And I was having a really great time in so many ways, but I think what I presented to the world and even the way that I talked about it to my friends and stuff, I was definitely only sharing the highlights. And I think as I've gotten more comfortable, being on the road has gotten more comfortable, so I've become happier in it. I am a little bit nostalgic for that like fear feeling of like when you get somewhere for the first time and you're nervous and excited. I don't really get that anymore just because this is my home. I'm so comfortable in it. I've been doing it for 2.5 years. But yeah, I would say there was a lot of fear, but also a lot of excitement. And the fact that everything was so new and I was doing something so different than everyone that I knew and anything that I ever thought that I would do. I also built this van myself. My mom and I built it. And so I think I was so proud of it and so excited to be like living in something that I made. And honestly, like to this day, buying the van and building it out and taking that leap is the thing that I'm most proud of. I was a college athlete. I have my master's. I have my CPA. I was working at a big four accounting firm. I have built a social media platform that I can now make money off of. I've learned how to make money off of basically my hobbies. Still, buying the van and building it out and taking the leap, not knowing what was going to happen, is the thing that I'm most proud of for sure. Okay, let's move on to another question since that was like insanely long. We'll do some easy ones next. How many watts of solar do you have and are you happy with it? I have 400 watts of solar. I would have done more except for I really prioritized having a roof deck and I don't regret that decision. Power in general is so specific to like what you build. I have a fairly low power build. Like I cook with butane, I heat my van with diesel, so I don't require a ton of power. Like my lights run off of electricity obviously, charge my phone, my laptop, my refrigerator, and then my Wi-Fi, but I don't run that all the time. That does use a lot of power, but I only run that like when I'm in a city. I'm not using it. I'm only using that when I'm in the middle of nowhere. How do you feel traveling certain places as a woman? Have you ever felt scared? I think that this is probably one of my most asked questions, and I totally understand why. And I think that this was one of like especially my mom's biggest fears when I was on the road or like just moving into the road. But I will say I really rarely get scared. I think like at night I have all my window covers up. People can tell that someone lives in here and that someone's sleeping in here because I have solar panels, I have windows, like it's very obviously like a camper van. I could be some like big guy, like they don't know. I don't have anything on the outside that indicates that I'm like a small woman, so I don't really feel scared in that. I have had a couple scary encounters on the road, and maybe I'll just tell you guys one story. I had only been on the road for like 2 months at the time, and I was parked at this park in Lake Havasu, and I had my back doors open, and I was sitting here filming something for a video, and this guy kind of came up, and he was looking around, looking inside my van, which happens a lot when you have your doors open, like people are just curious. And then he said hi, and he was asking me questions about my van and my build, asking me if I built it because he had a van, but he bought like a Winnebago like pre-built out van. So he was just curious like how I did it, what features I had. He was wanting to make some upgrades to his. It started out like it felt like a very like wholesome conversation. At the time, like I had just built this van, so I was super eager to talk to anyone about it, especially like the details of how I did things. He just started to like overstay his welcome. We had probably been talking for like 15 minutes at that point, and he was standing up on a curb and he like leaned against my bed. So I was sitting here and he put his arms on my bed, which is weird, and he was like leaning up against it and still talking to me, and I didn't really know how to end the conversation and I was feeling really uncomfortable, so I got down, so like my bed was in between us. He was like, my van's right over there, do you want to come see it? And I was like, okay, this is a way for me to like exit this conversation. And the park was really crowded, and not saying that this was a smart decision, but this is what I did. I was like, yeah, sure, like I'll go take a quick glance at it, but then I really gotta go. So I got out of my van, I closed my back doors, I locked my van, I walked to where you could see it in the parking lot, but not like super close to it. And I was like, oh my god, super cool, like whatever. And he was like, do you want to come inside? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, like I really don't have time for that. I have to like get going and meet some friends. I was not meeting any friends. I did not know anyone there. And so I started walking back towards my van, and at this point I felt a little uncomfortable, but not like scared. All of a sudden I hear this like, wait, so, and he was like following me back to my van. And so then I started to feel really uncomfortable. And he was like, wait, so have you been to this side of the park before, or have you only been to the other side? And I didn't catch it when he said that. But I had been at the other side of the park across the river yesterday. And I was like, oh, this is my first time here, but I was actually at the other side yesterday. He was like, oh, I know. I was following you around there yesterday. And then he was like, wait, no, not following you, but I saw you there. And in my head, I was like, oh, Abby, get the fuck out. Because I was like, okay, did this guy see me there yesterday and then he followed me to where I was camping and then followed me back here today? Or did he just happen to see me at the park both days? Like, I just felt so uncomfortable. I like got in the van, I called my mom, I was like crying, and then my mom was like, well, make sure that he didn't put a tracker on your van, because he was like leaning up against it. So then luckily I did know some people that were coming to camp in the area, and I went and camped with them. I had like just met them. I knew them for maybe 24 hours, but I was like, I feel safer going to camp with them than going back by myself, because at that point I was like, what if he is following me? And we took everything out of the back of my van. I searched for a tracker. There was nothing there. Honestly, he was probably like perfectly nice, or maybe not, I don't know. But anyway, that's the only time I've really ever been scared in my van. Most of the time my window covers are up. This is my home. I honestly feel most comfortable in it. I sleep better in here than I do in a house most of the time. I'm like even regretting if I should tell that story because I don't want people to be scared. Like, I felt more scared most times when I lived in like an apartment in college, walking around, because like I move all the time. Like, no one knows where I'm gonna be. I mean, like, people that I love that are like making sure that I'm okay know where I am. But anyway, for the most part, no, I don't feel scared. That was the one scary story I've had in 2.5 years, and I'm not even sure if he meant any ill will by it. What is my favorite part of my van build? By far, my roof deck. If you watch my van tour, you can see that, but I use it all the time. I love it for sunrises and sunsets, and I also feel like it's an uncommon feature because a lot of people want to put multiple fans or, you know, maximize their solar, and so it was something that I really had to make sacrifices for, and I'm really glad that I did it because a lot of people were telling me that I was going to regret it. How do you manage being a content creator but also staying in the moment? I think that this is something that I actually struggle with a lot. I always say that this is my job and that you're not always gonna like your job. And I'm really lucky that my job involves a lot of things that I love to do. I think that I've struggled at moments of like things that I love to do, like hiking, skiing, backpacking. They start to feel like work because it almost feels like, oh, I have to do this so that I can film it. So then it's like, it takes away from the joy of it. I really felt like that about a year ago. And I started intentionally forcing myself to like go for hikes and not film them to remind myself that I actually do love doing it. I think that the trade-off that I feel is that, one, filming the things that I do allows me to do the things that I love more. So even if I'm a little bit less in the moment, I'm like, I would still rather be here than sitting at a desk. So like, I'm still outside, I'm still doing awesome things, and like, I find that really fun. The other thing that I refuse to do is film at like big social gatherings. If I'm having like one of my friends from college or something come visit me in the van, I will vlog because they also enjoy it and it's like fun for us to do together. But if I'm sitting around a campfire with a bunch of people, or if I'm at like a van meetup, something like that, where, you know, a lot of people don't want to be filmed all the time, like I don't film and I allow myself to like enjoy those moments with people. And there's also a lot of things that I keep fairly private. And I think that that's hard because when you're doing social media, you're like, everything becomes content and you're like, oh, well, like I should talk about this because it would do really well and people would be really interested in it. But you kind of have to decide like where your boundaries are and what you feel comfortable sharing and what you don't feel comfortable sharing. And I feel like I found like a pretty good balance with that. I also find that like filming things is sometimes what stops me from doing them. Like I will wait 3 days to unpack my suitcase because in my head I want to film a video about it, and like that is what holds me back, is like filming the video rather than actually unpacking my suitcase. Like it makes tasks that I don't want to do sometimes seem like even harder, but I still love to do it and my job is so fun. Like I love connecting with people. I also love the aspect of filming my life like this and potentially inspiring other people to live in unconventional ways, whether that's living in a van or doing something completely different. I quit a very lucrative and also like safe career to chase something that I was passionate about. And so when I get comments or DMs about people that are like, you know, you inspired me to do this, or you inspired me to do this, even if it's like you inspired me to go on a walk today or get outside or go for a hike, I love that. And especially because like I'm just like a random girl with a camera that films myself. Like it's not like I'm like this like inspirational person per se, but like I think that it's cool that we can literally find inspiration in anybody, and the fact that anyone would find inspiration in my life is really fun, and I love that aspect. What's the longest drive you've ever done in one sitting in Junie? I don't drive very far at a time. I would say usually I'm like a max 6 hours type of girl. I don't know about one sitting, but I did drive from Bend, Oregon all the way down to Arizona in like 2 days to try to make it to a van festival. I can't even remember how many hours it is, but I think it's like 18. Do you see yourself upgrading to a bigger van in the future that fits more things? Honestly, no. I always say my van build is like perfect. There's a couple little things that I might change about it, but like I would change it about this van. I have such an emotional attachment to her. I think not only because I built it and I had no experience, but also because my mom did it with me, and that was such a special experience. And I feel like she's really thought out and really well built, and I've been on the road road for 2.5 years. I've also been in a really serious accident in her, and everything has held up so well, and I'm so proud of it. She just feels like home to me, and there's really nothing that I ever feel like I'm really missing. She's perfect. Are you planning on doing van life forever? No. I used to say that I was going to do it for 2 years when I first got on the road, and obviously it's been 2.5. I think now when people ask me, I usually just say I'm going to keep doing it until I'm no longer happy doing it, or until like I have a reason to stop. Like if I find a place that I really want to live. Right now there's not a place where I would want to live year round, or like if I was with a partner and we wanted to get a place together, something like that, where it's like I have more of a reason. But even in those cases, like I would still probably keep my van, and I would do long-ish stints of travel for like a couple weeks or a month at a time, because I do love it and I wouldn't want to get rid of her. Like, she's my baby. How many miles are on Junie? I bought her brand new, so with 0 miles on it, and honestly, it's shocking to me because she only has 46,000 miles after 2.5 years. I was in a pretty serious accident and was in a rental van for like 5 months. I've really only been in her and driving her for, I guess, like 2 years. Are you happy? I would say that I'm genuinely a pretty happy person. Like, I think everyone has their ups and downs. No one's life is like sunshines and rainbows all the time, so obviously I have issues just like everyone else, and van life doesn't take away any issues. Like, any issues that you have before van life, unless it's like a job that you hate that you quit, but like any internal issues or stresses or anxiety, like I think a lot of people think that they're gonna like feel free when they get out on the road or do all this. All those things are still there, and almost even maybe like magnified a little bit, just because you can be so isolated and you have so many little tasks that you have to do every day just to like be able to live, that you don't have to do in a house or like an apartment. I would say overall, compared to the general public, I'm a very happy person. What is my favorite part of the day? I'm definitely a morning person. How to get into hiking and running for someone who isn't active. I think that honestly, just start with finding the joy in being outside. Whether that's sitting on your porch, whether that's going for a walk, you know, doing whatever, and working your way up. Stop following people on social media, even if it's me, or just scroll past my running and hiking videos unless you find them inspirational. But like, follow people that are where you're at. If you're just getting into running and everyone that you're following is running 8-minute miles, then it feels like you're failing. But if you're just getting into running and you're also following people online that are just getting into running, it like feels so much more inspiring. So I would say, look at the content that you're consuming. Is it inspiring you? Remember to meet yourself where you're at. Be proud of yourself for your little wins, and just go out and start doing it. There's not a right or wrong way to start. You know, if you're gonna go out for a run, start by run walking. Jog slowly for 5 minutes, walk for 10 minutes. Jog for 5 minutes, walk for 10 minutes, and then just like slowly work your way up. Do you want kids in the future? Yes, I do. I can't really picture my life without kids, which I think is hard. Like, I don't think everyone feels that way, but I love my parents so much, and I love our family, and I think there's a part of me that feels like my life would be incomplete without kids. Like, I've just always pictured them in it. If it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. I think that I will be happy either way, but I do think that I would be a really good mom, and I would love to like bring children into this world, whatever way that may be. Obviously I'm a lesbian, so it will look a little different for me, but I'm pretty much open to anything. Like, I would adopt, I would carry the children. If my partner wanted to carry, that's fine too. If we each wanted to carry one, that's fine with me. Like, I'm very indifferent to how it happens, but I would like for it to happen. Who is your celebrity crush? Miley Cyrus, since I was a kid. And then I got a lot of questions about my coming out story. I didn't realize I was gay until I was 21. Looking back, if there had been more representation in the media, or if literally anyone I knew would have listened to anything that I said and been like, hey Abby, have you ever like considered that you might be, I probably would have known, because I said the gayest things as like a middle schooler, high schooler, into early college, like, and just no one told me. Like, in high school, I was confidently saying that Miley Cyrus was my celebrity crush, and like no one was saying anything. My boyfriend at the time, I had a boyfriend all through my senior year of high school going into college, and we were like pretty serious. Like, he came on family trips with us, and I would be at parties and I would kiss girls, and he was like, why are you kissing people in front of me? And honestly, king for like being mad at that, because a lot of high school boys would have just been like, oh, like that's so hot, whatever. But I would like honestly gaslight him and be like, it's so weird that you care about that. And so I was probably pretty toxic in the relationship. But then when we broke up, I didn't date anyone for a long time. Like, I would go on dates or like hook up with people, but very, very casually, and just like every person that I would go on a date with or hook up with, I would be like, oh, I don't like them, and like never see them again. And then there was like a girl on my team that was gay, and we were friends and we started to get really close. You know how it goes. It was like honestly very innocent. Like, we were having sleepovers every night. We were like cuddling, occasionally kissing, kissing. Like, it was not super crazy. And everyone, I think at the time, thought that we were hooking up, and we really weren't. Like, I wasn't even lying to people, but like, I definitely was lying about the fact that like, I definitely had feelings for her, but I was even lying to myself at the time. And then I was packing to go back to school for my senior year, and I remember I just like had this epiphany where like my whole life flashed before my eyes. And like, I was watching so much like queer like YouTube and social media, and like, it didn't even click for me. And finally it was like every close friend that I had had in elementary school and middle school and high school, and like all of these little queer experiences that I had had throughout my life like flashed before my eyes, and I was like, oh my god, I'm gay. And I started sobbing. I didn't tell anyone like right away. When I went back to school, I slowly started to tell my friends. My biggest fear was that they would, like, my friends and I were very close and very affectionate with each other, and we would like cuddle and share the same bed and change in front of each other. I was like, oh my god, they're gonna think that I was like looking at them like that the whole time, and I wasn't, and none of them thought that. But I think that it is a very like common fear, especially as women. We are so like intimately close with our friends a lot of the time in like a very platonic way. None of them thought that. All of them were super supportive. I ended up writing a letter to my mom, and I was just gonna call her and read it because I was at school at the time. But then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna rip the band-aid off. I knew that my parents were gonna be somewhat supportive, but I also knew that it was like, once I said it, I couldn't take it back, and it felt like I was like closing this chapter on something, or like this idea of me that they had in their head. Anyway, I called my sister. She was living at home at the time, and I was like, hey, are mom and dad home? She was like, yeah. And I was like, can you put them on the phone? So like, my dad was upstairs watching the game, my mom, so they all came, and you know, they were like, what the fuck is going on? And I read them the letter, and my dad like looks at me and he goes, oh, I thought that you were gonna say something bad happened. I like girls too. And then he like left and like went to go finish the game. And then my mom was like very obviously like, we love you no matter what, like blah blah blah. And then I think like she talked to my sister. She was a little bit offended that she was like, what did I ever do that she felt like she couldn't just like bring someone home? So we had a lot of conversations about that, just trying to like, it wasn't about you, mom, like you did everything right, and it was just like about me and like my journey and how I needed to come to terms with it. And since then, like 3 years later, my sister came out. We're both gay. My parents are super supportive. I am so lucky, and I love my family so much. Half the questions on here are you single, or like, are you dating anyone, blah blah blah. That is one of the things like I talked about earlier that I've chosen to like keep offline. Like, I don't really post about dating stuff ever. I will say I'm not single, and I am dating someone. That's all I'm gonna say. What was high school Abby like? I was crazy. I was a huge partier in high school and early college. Not like anything like super insane, but I definitely drank a lot. I had hair down to my butt. I wore mini skirts and heels. Honestly, dressed very risque, and was kind of like addicted to male attention that I was never gonna reciprocate. It's the best way that I could describe it. Like, I never cared. I wanted them to like me, but then like I would never talk to them. Like, I didn't want to talk to them. I didn't want to hang out with them. When my friends would be like wanting to go home with guys from the bar, I'd be like, why don't we all just go back and like have a big sleepover? Like, I never really got it. Makes sense. But that being said, I also was like really smart in high school. Like, I graduated summa cum laude, or whatever the highest thing is. Took a lot of AP classes. I played lacrosse, and I had a fairly big friend group. I love them. I still stay in contact with a lot of them. I've been to some of their weddings this year. Do you want to do the PCT or any other long hike? This is actually super exciting because I just got an email about it the other day, but there is this company that is basically leading a trek that's like 100 miles of the John Muir Trail, which the John Muir Trail has always been on my bucket list, and I just said that I would do it, so I'm gonna be like preparing for that for this summer. I feel like it's gonna be a super easy way for me to do it. I backpack a lot, but like more like 3-day trips, so this will be like my first 2-week long backpacking trip, and it'll be like a couple other content creators and journalists going, and then some guides will be going with us, and we're like documenting, you know, our public lands and why it's important to conserve them and stuff like that. So like also something that I'm super passionate about. In terms of like the PCT, like something that long, I always said that it was something that I really wanted to do, but realistically, I don't know if I want to like not give up 6 months of my life to do it, because obviously I wouldn't be giving up anything. It would be a crazy experience, but I think that I would be doing it to say I did it more than I would enjoy it. But we'll see. Like, never say never, for sure. Thoughts on having Starlink now? A great resource for van life, but is it worth supporting Elon Musk? I did make a little video about this on my TikTok, because obviously I support boycotts, because there are two things that I keep getting comments about, and it is my Planet Fitness membership and my Starlink. There are just a couple things that you need on the road, and for me, that is 1, a shower, and Planet Fitness is the only place that has like that many locations where I can find a gym anywhere I want to shower that's affordable. Because if I were to do day passes at like small gyms, that's like $15 to $20 a day. Truck stops are like $17 a shower. So it's just not realistic to do that for like daily showering, and I don't have a shower in my van. I did stop promoting it in terms of like in my videos. I don't say that I'm going to Planet Fitness. Like I'll be like, oh, I'm going to the gym, and I don't put like the logo of it in there. That's kind of like what I decided I felt comfortable with that. And then Starlink, it's the only product on the market. I'm a lot of times in places with no cell service, so there are other Wi-Fi options, but they all run off of cell signals. What makes Starlink different is it runs off of satellites, and so if I'm in the middle of nowhere with no cell service, I can still be connected to the internet, which one allows me to work, and two makes me feel significantly safer. Like if something were to happen, that I can contact someone. Even on like long drives, like I've been on long drives where there's 3 hours with no cell signal, and before I had Starlink, it would make me super nervous. Like what happens if I broke down right now and I'm alone, and am I just gonna stand on the highway and like wait for someone to stop and pull over, and what if they're creepy and blah blah blah. Like, you know, having Starlink allows me, like, I could call AAA, I could call the police, I could call my parents. It just makes me feel a lot safer to be able to like have contact with people, and it also allows me to do my job in the places that I want to be. I will say same thing as Planet Fitness. I've stopped promoting it as like, this is what you should do for this. I'm not trying to hide it either, like very upfront about that. I feel like I'm doing my best, and there are some things that are just unavoidable, and is me only being able to shower once a week because I don't have a Planet Fitness membership actually going to impact Planet Fitness? Or like, you know what I mean? I'm boycotting a lot of companies right now. I think that sometimes you have to like have a little bit of balance between it taking over your life and doing what you feel is right. And those are things that I feel like it would drastically impact my life in a super negative way to not have them living in a van. If I lived in a house, like absolutely get rid of Planet Fitness, join another gym. Like those kind of things are a lot easier. Living on the road is already so difficult, and those are like two of my little comforts that make it manageable for me. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. Okay, and this is going to be the last question that I'm going to answer. What are your favorite and least favorite parts of van life? I would say my favorite part of van life is the fact that I get to live anywhere at any time, and I get to chase the weather and do all of my favorite activities. And I would say my least favorite part of van life is all of the little inconveniences, like having to deal with your own waste in a toilet, or go to a gym to shower, or having things break a lot. I don't mind so much like the size of the space. It's more just like all the little things that can just add up and make your life seem unmanageable when you're in a stressed out state. Like if you've had a really long day and you can't find a place to sleep, or you're really tired and someone knocks on your van and says that you can't sleep there, or you have to dump your compost toilet, or your pee jug's full and you really have to pee. Like all of those little things that like none of them are that big of a deal, but they can just add up. I would say those are my least favorite parts. And also sometimes the loneliness, although I have made a very big community on the road that helps with that. Anyway, I love you guys so much. If you have any more questions, leave them below this video, and maybe I'll do another one of these in a couple months. Also follow me on Instagram if you want to be in on the next one, because that is probably where I will get most of my questions for the Q&A. And also I just post fun stuff over there anyway. I love you all so much. I hope you have a beautiful day. Please like, subscribe, comment. It all really helps me a lot. Thank you for continuing to support me, and I will see you guys in the next one.